Whenever a massive organized abuse network gets exposed, think about the Epstein case or NXIVM, the public reaction is almost always the same.
We all ask how.
Exactly. How does something so dark operate for so long with so many people, in the know?
It's the million-dollar question, and the answer we usually land on is monsters. We tell ourselves the perpetrators must be these demonic, lone anomalies.
Which is comforting, in a way, because monsters are rare. But the source material for today's deep dive, Dorothy W. Parker's The Problem of Holding Evil Accountable, it suggests that comfort is actually a huge blind spot.
It really is. Parker's whole point is that we need to stop looking for a lone villain and start looking for the architecture. She argues that in these cases, evil isn't chaotic. It's an engineered social system.
A parallel moral climate. That phrase really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so that's our mission today. We're going to try to dismantle that monster myth and walk through the 5 specific building blocks Parker says allow these systems to exist right under our noses.
Okay, so let's get into the first block. She calls it selection, but she makes a very, very sharp distinction here. This isn't recruitment.
Right. This really stood out. We think of these groups wanting, mass followers, like a cult.
But Parker says they don't want a crowd. They want leverage.
They're selecting for specific vulnerabilities. Debt, ambition.
Vanity, loneliness, anything. They aren't looking for believers. They're looking for assets. And crucial to this, the entry point never looks like a trap.
No, it looks like a scholarship, a VIP pass, a flight on a private jet.
It looks like privilege. The first yes isn't to doing something wrong. It's just accepting access. You think you've won, but you've actually just been selected.
Which leads right into the second block, incremental consent. This is how they keep you there. And Parker is so clear, nobody agrees to the evil part all at once.
No, of course not. That would set off every alarm bell. Instead, agreement is gathered in fragments. It starts with just a small silence.
You see something a little weird, but you don't say anything.
Right. You don't lose your seat on the plane. You're eroding your own sovereignty little by little. A small compromise today makes a slightly bigger one easier tomorrow.
And the group reinforces this. They make refusal feel irrational. You're the one making things awkward if you object.
Exactly. So by the time the big, undeniable harm happens, you've already said yes 1,000 smaller times. You're structurally part of it.
And while that's happening inside your own head, the entire environment is shifting. This is the third block, a private normal. This is basically a language game, isn't it?
It is. It is. These networks edit the vocabulary to soothe the conscience. You don't call it exploitation.
I call it transactional.
And you don't call it violence. You call it drama or complex.
It's complicated. That phrase does a lot of heavy lifting.
So much. And if you hear that softened language enough times from people you respect, the abnormal it stops feeling abnormal. It becomes how things are done here.
So you have the people, the consent, the language, but you still need to actually run the operation. And that's the fourth block, which is, honestly, it's the most chilling. Role compartmentalization.
The logistics of evil. A network like this can't run on abuse alone. It needs schedulers, drivers, accountants.
Gatekeepers. And this just distributes the guilt, right?
Right.
The person booking the flights tells themselves, I'm not hurting anyone, I'm just managing a calendar.
Precisely. It lets everyone stay inside the system while telling themselves they're outside the harm. It makes the whole thing durable because almost no one feels like the villain.
But eventually, people do realize what's happening. Rumors spread. Why doesn't the whole thing just collapse? That's the final block. Sanctions.
It's just a cold, rational calculation. The structure makes sure that the cost of speaking up, NDAs, legal threats, career suicide, social exile, is always higher than the cost of staying silent.
So silence isn't really cowardice in that environment.
It's a survival strategy. Tragically, yes. And this brings us to what might be the biggest misconception Parker points out: the difference between exposure and collapse.
We just assume they're the same thing. The story breaks in the news and the system ends.
But history shows us that's just not true. Everyone knew about Weinstein for decades. A network doesn't collapse just because people know about it. It only collapses when its structural pillars actually fracture.
When the sanctions lose their power or the normalization fails.
Exactly. As long as that architecture holds, the evil can persist, even in plain sight.
So for you listening, This really changes how we have to look at the world. We need to stop looking for, horns and a pitchfork.
And start looking for the machinery. That's the takeaway. If you want to spot these systems, don't look for the monster. Look for the logistics. Look for the edited language, the incremental compromises, the compartmentalized roles.
Understanding the architecture is your only real defense. It's a shift from focusing on the spectacle to focusing on the system itself.
Right. And I'll leave you with this final thought from Parker. Evil in these cases is not a storm. It is an engineered environment. If we're all just looking for the lightning and thunder, we miss the people who designed the whole building.